Awesome. Now to the fun part of this interview. Naman, some interesting questions that we have lined up for you. Think of this as a rapid fire. You don't get too much time to think through. But here we go. First one being, if you weren't doing product management, what are some other fields that you might be interested in?
So I think a role very similar to product management is consulting. I would be, helping. I'd be a strategy consultant. I'll be helping other companies, solve their own sort of business problems.
Interesting, interesting. Naman, you mentioned earlier that you broke into product post an MBA. Do you believe an MBA is absolutely necessary to break into product?
So as I mentioned before about networking, right? So this is the right time to call that out. I believe no. The answer is the short answer is no. You do not need an MBA to crack product management. In fact, the training that I'm going through at Walmart currently for PM Launchpad, we have many people who are actually moving from engineering side to PM side. So an MBA is not at all a must do for cracking PM. But I would say that creating that sort of a network and getting the right opportunities, good opportunities, as well as helping structure your own thoughts, not only from the engineering background or a specific background that you're coming from, but actually taking the business angle into it. And after doing an MBA, that starts coming off naturally. All those 2 years, you keep on thinking about solving business problems. So when I think about a product now, I don't only think about it from the engineering aspect of solving the problem, but actually what impact will it have on the company financially? What sort of marketing measures do I need to take? Is that the operationally best action to be done? So I think it does help.
That way, right? Most of this content is now available online for free, maybe on Coursera, etc. Right? So if it's just for the content, you would say should someone go to an MBA mostly for the content, or is it, hey, content is democratized, but that network or just being surrounded by very smart people, is that something that you'd put over everything else?
I actually would, uh, the worldview that I talked about that before. So in engineering, we have this thing, right? You have dimensions and you have vectors. You define a position of a body through its basic vectors, right? So x equals this, y equals this, z equals this. So I would say that before doing an MBA, my vector set, my basis vectors were very limited to the engineering knowledge that I had. Obviously, like I could have done that using on the internet also, but I would not have gotten both the network as well as that knowledge at the same place. Working with many people with coming from different backgrounds. There are people coming from commerce, from arts, from medical, from engineering, people who have had tens of years of experience, people who had no experience at all coming from arts. So when you actually talk to them and see how they are thinking about a problem in a very different sort of a way, that also raises that inner child inside of you and helps you think of a product literally from outside of your own box that you created from your education. So I guess that is something that I would say was my biggest takeaway from MBA, and of course the network that I mentioned.
Fair, fair, fair. Lighter question and an honest answer. What is the biggest perk of working at a big tech firm?
Okay. I would say uh, you get to have, so you get in internship and at the job you get a lot of goodies. You get you get uh, funds for maintaining your own health of your parents. You get funds for actually investing in yourself. So at Walmart we have this professional development funds which you can use for your own, learning new things. We have certain amount of fund is given to us to actually spend on our own health. So you can, join gyms and do other things. So these sort of things that you may not actually use if they are just giving you the money, but they're actually helping you become a better person. So I guess that is the first thing which as a
Right.
perk comes to my mind when you work for a big company.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Now, my last question. Given you've gotten started on your product journey, you have a remote role currently, right? Do you face
Mhm.
any challenges working as a remote product manager, and any tips and tricks that have helped you just be a little more productive comparatively?
Sure. So, of course, there are challenges in working remotely. And for me, actually, these challenges would not completely go away even if I shift to office because I work on the US health tech and the business side, and many of the teams actually sit in US. So one challenge of that is I have late night meetings and I have to coordinate with them, coordinate all that time with them, and communicate very effectively in those 30 minutes of time that I have in the meeting. In that very short email, I have to cover up everything, explain everything, so that when I'm waking up the next morning, I do not have doubts as a reply to my mail itself. So there are challenges in working remotely, and some tips and tricks that help me are, if you're starting off, there are many things that you are not aware of. You're not aware of maybe the subject matter at hand. You're not aware of the organizational structure. You're not aware of certain terms that people throw, certain even product management in general, or that works out in a company. I think my go-to thing as an engineer and as a student was read the documents. Go on the internet, ask and read things. But I would say that is not the first thing that you should do as a new hire. What you should do instead is talk to people. And of course, that's challenging online. But you know, ask people for their time, throw them Slack messages, throw them messages on Teams. And people generally, you'd be surprised how helpful people are. They'll come ahead, help you, explain those terms to you, explain what you should do. You can explain your own problem to them and they can help you make your own solution. So that thing really helped me, regular interactions with people, even when you're working remotely.
Fair, fair, fair. Naman, thanks so much for sharing that. I think this was a very interesting chat. In general, digging deeper into the Walmart journey as well as some interesting, fun questions toward the end. Folks, if you want to connect with Naman, we will drop a link to his social profiles in the description. Feel free to hit him up, especially if you have some questions around breaking into a top tier MBA in India or breaking into a very, very interesting product role. We will also ask Naman to share with us the resource links and we will add it to a document. Of course, it will not be the XLRI document, but we will hopefully try gathering most of the meat from there. If you have any further questions, feel free to drop it in the comments below and we will try getting Naman to answer those. But with that tuning off from today's episode, thanks once again, Naman. This was a fantastic chat.
Thanks, Suhas, for having me.